Welcome back, guys. This is the second part of this playlist and one of the most important videos for this playlist. And in the last video, if you remember, we covered the importance or the functionalities of Dhan API. We have seen what are the featured partners and how to get the access token of Dhan API. In this video, we will go through the entire API documentation of Dhan API, and in the end, we'll make a basic test of how to use this API. The next video will cover about the Python library that will be used to automate your trades, right? So let's start with this one. If you search Dhan API Python, there's the first link which is of pypi.org. Just click on that, which will open this particular window. It's very well described how to use this API, but still I'll go through each and every part. If you're new to Python, let me just tell you, in order to install any library, we have to use pip functionality. So we'll use pip install DhanHQ, right? We'll definitely do it in the next video, but yeah, I'm just giving an idea. And these are the functions that we'll be talking about in the next video. This video is covered about the documentation, so I'll just click on this particular button, which is DhanHQ API documentation, which will open this window. This is the entire in-depth information of Dhan API. And on the left hand side, you can see different things like orders, right? Portfolio, EDIS, funds, statements, historical data, annexure, and so on, right? So if I click on the orders button, then you can see there are two segments, which is REST API and the Python one. Let's focus on the Python side as of now, because this playlist is very much focused on the Python segmentation. If you don't use Python library, then you'll have to go through the REST documentation as well. For that, you'll have to go through the post, put, get, and all these functionalities, right? I'll come to the REST API later while testing the APIs, right? Which is the last part of this particular video. If we click on the Python ribbon, you'll see these are the different inputs that needs to be provided, right, in the Python code that we'll be writing. Things like place order, modify order, cancel order, right? All these different types of things. And for these things, we have different inputs like transaction type. Is it a buy or is it a sell? If it's a buy, it's dhan.buy, right? If it's a sell, it's dhan.sell, and so on. Then the exchange segment, it's NSE, BSE. What's the product type? Is it an intra trade or intra-day trade, or it's a delivery trade or options, for example? So we'll have to mention it here. Then the order type, market order, limit order, etc. Validity, security ID, quantity, which is the number of stocks that you would like to trade. Then other things as well, some booleans like aftermarket order, which would be either true or false, and so on, right? So these are the different things that needs to be provided while triggering the order API of this particular segment, right? If I just go to say portfolio, right? So we can retrieve the holdings in the portfolio information using this particular functionality. And again, if you click on Python ribbon, you'll see like we'll just need to trigger this particular API. There's no input required here. You just need to I would say run this particular cell, and then you'll get the portfolio information. If you go to say statements, again we'll have to go through these particular things, and the most important thing is historical data, which is actually used to extract the OHLC, which is open, high, low, close, historical data on a daily candle or on a 1 minute time frame. In order to do this thing, you'll have to run this particular line, which is dhan.historical minute charts, and then you'll have to input the data, which I'll tell you in some time, right? So this is the entire function that needs to be provided in the Python code that we'll be making. Dhan.historical minute charts. What are the inputs? Symbol, right? In this case, it is mentioned TCS. It can be Infosys, it can be HCL, etc. Exchange segment, I've already told you about that. It's NSE EQ in this case. Instrument type is equity, expiry code because it's it's a spot order, there's no expiry. In order, like if it were options or futures order, then we'll have to put expiry here as well. So it's 0 in this case. What is the historical data time range that needs to be extracted? So from date to date, right? This is a very important functionality, or this is a very important function that we are going to use extensively in the future videos as well. And this particular function can be used to make trading bots as well, that we'll cover in future, right? So let's just test this API, right? Which is just go to the URL which is mentioned in the description box, which is api.dhan.co, and over there you can just check on the right hand side on what are the I would say the inputs that needs to be provided for different segments, right? So for example, in order to placing the order, you'll have to use the post request. If you're using the Python library, you don't need to do this, but yeah, just to test what are the different inputs that needs to be provided. If you provide all these inputs here and then send the API request, it will execute that particular API, and if it's a place an order trigger, then it will place an order from here itself. This is exactly the thing that we'll be using in the Python code as well. If we do say get fund limit detail, right? So let me just do it for you, right? So I'll just click on this send API request. You can see 200 OK, API response 200 means that we are successfully running this API. And what's the API? What's the fund limit details in this case? I have close to 1,000 rupees in this particular account, and other details are also in front of you, right? Down below, you can see the request sample and then this drop down, right? You can click on this particular button and you'll see all, I would say, different types of libraries that people use in this industry. I use Python extensively, but if you use say C hash or Node, or for example any other languages, you'll just have to click on that particular thing and then click on, say for example I'll click on Python 3 and you'll see the Python code that can be used in the Python code that we'll be writing, and we can use this particular segment as well. You just need to copy and paste it from here, right? If I just go to the Python ribbon and then click on the request side, you can use the requests library and put it on the Python code and use it. But anyways, if you are using the Python library, I'll come back to this one, which is pip install DhanHQ. This is the Python library that we'll be using in future. All these things are already inside this library. You just need to use these basic functions, and all these things will be done automatically in the backend. So this is all about the second video of this playlist. In the next video, as I already mentioned, I'll be writing the entire Python code in order to place some buy and sell triggers. I'll be using the same Python library. You should just go through it, and in the next video we'll talk about each and everything about how to use this particular Python library and place real-time orders. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video.
Investments in the securities market are subject to market risk. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.